We so appreciate having you all here. But Bitcoin's been around for more than a decade. How and why do you think people came around to it within the past few years? And what role do influencers and icons like yourself play in this ascent?
What are we starting with?
This is for everyone. It's open-ended.
I feel like social media, I mean, you said it, the influencers and icons, that's the new generation. We see kids growing up now, they're all on iPads and, cars are driving themselves and things like that, like technology is the future. So I think social media has a big play on that.
Yeah, and one thing about Bitcoin, you actually don't really think about it being around for so long. A decade is a pretty long time. So it's had a long time to kind of just to work. And I really like it. I'm really into the whole cryptocurrency because I think it's obviously the future, and particularly Bitcoin really stands out because it's so unique and it's so different.
Couldn't agree more.
She said it.
Well, OBJ and Aaron, you guys made the bold step of converting your salary into Bitcoin this year. Why did you decide to do that, and what has it meant for you?
Yeah, for me, my journey goes back to actually a guy I saw you put on stage, on the screen, Russell Okun. I had a conversation with him a few years ago, and when he mentioned he'd taken, I think, almost $7 million of his salary in Bitcoin, I said, why in the hell would you do that? I think a lot of the journeys, you talk to different people in the space, it begins with the questioning and the lack of understanding, and the more you dive into it and look into it, the more it makes sense. And so for me, I had a great conversation with Russ and started looking into it, and like I try and do with any topic, I like to dive into it, learn more about it, talk to the experts. So I personally talk to people who've been in the space for a long time. I think it's going to 500,000 a coin. And I talk to the crypto analysts at my financial institution who believe it's going to zero. And just because I wanted to hear both sides of the story and enjoy the conversation, and to me it was a no-brainer, even though there were people who were bearish against it. And so I looked into the opportunities, and obviously been great partnering with you guys and kind of getting the awareness out there. I think people didn't realize how easy it was to buy Bitcoin and to get involved in the space. And like Serena said, it's definitely the future of currency, I think, and I'm excited to be partnering with you guys.
Awesome. I'm actually really keen to hear, inside the locker room, are there certain people who are the biggest bears or biggest bulls?
Yeah, I mean...
Anybody you want to call out?
No.
Call him out!
Anybody out, but you definitely just see it growing. And like you just said before, it's been around for so long, and we don't think about a decade being long. But it's just going to continue to grow, and you might as well get with it or get left behind. I would definitely rather be ahead of it.
A lot of the old guys, a lot of the old coaches kind of looking down there, back in my day, I ain't nothing like this. Get with it. Wake up!
So one thing I've been thinking a lot about, and is really important to our mission, is about financial independence for people. And I think about that a lot for professional athletes, but also college athletes, with the recent change in NCAA rules to let them make money off their name, image, and likeness. Do you see Bitcoin impacting that at all, or how do you think those recent changes come into play here for tennis and for football?
Well, personally, as a tennis player, we didn't really go to college and do the college sport, but I was very excited to see that change with the NCAA having an opportunity to have these players really kind of be able to benefit from their own IP. It's a multi-billion dollar industry. So for me, I was really excited to see that. But because the avenues that we have now to invest in Bitcoin or to invest in general, in particular with Cash App, these college athletes have an opportunity. Sometimes you don't make it out of college, and then you do other things. And they now have an opportunity to start their career because they have an opportunity to make money and they can start financial independence, which I think is something that's so important to talk about, and having that financial independence and having platforms like Cash App make it so easy. You don't have to buy a whole coin. You know, you can start investing, and little by little you can build yourself up to where you want to be financially. And the opportunities there are really so unique. And so I think I was so excited to see that happen with the athletes for college.
Don't worry, Serena. I don't think Odell or I really went to college either.
That's funny.
Definitely not at OSU, but
Yeah, that's
I didn't graduate either. But
That makes me feel a lot better.
I think it is important to realize that, you know, when people are looking at the stock ticker like I do every single day, and you see Bitcoin trading, I think it was just 43 something. They're like, I can't afford a Bitcoin, right? It's $43,000. But you can stack some sats, right?
Yep.
I'll be honest with you, I really like when I partner with you guys and people were blowing up my messages, say thanks for the stats, thanks for this. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So you know, you can buy fractions upon fractions upon fractions, and I would say to these young kids coming out, you know, when I was in college, we got a scholarship check and didn't go very far in Berkeley, but with the NILs these guys are signing, to me it makes sense to convert a portion of that into an opportunity like crypto or like Bitcoin, when it's money that you're really not, you know, not worried about. Otherwise, you wouldn't see, you know, especially some of these young quarterbacks and star players making over $1 million a year. You know, to live in college on scholarship, you know, it's not super expensive. So the opportunity to set some money aside for future gains and future generational wealth, I think would be something these kids would really want to get into.
Especially with inflation picking up, you want to put it into the hardest money known to mankind.
Yeah, when the Fed keeps printing trillions of dollars, you know, the best defense against inflation, I believe, is Bitcoin. And they will keep printing money.
It's the only option. Serena, I want to ask you about Serena Ventures. You've invested in Bitcoin and some cryptocurrency exchanges. What convinced you to get started?
Well, I've actually been investing for 9 years, and so I've been watching cryptocurrency for a while, and I invest in early startup companies, so we really have to kind of have our mind out there already as what's the future. So when we see stuff like Bitcoin coming up, it's explosive, right? It's really exciting, and it's like, okay, well, can this be the future? And then once everyone, and once social media, and once all influencers got behind it, as one of the biggest influencers, quiet as it's kept. Once everyone got, you know, behind it, you really realize that it is some sort of stabilization in terms of currency. And I think it's so interesting because Bitcoin it's not gonna be a ton available, right? So I really like looking at it like that and deciding, okay, well, this is a super strong investment in terms of all of cryptocurrency. It's something that we really wanted to lean into and be a part of it. And so, I just always said Serena Ventures, we're just looking at different opportunities. We also, like you mentioned, we invest in Lolly, where you can also have an opportunity to invest through Bitcoin, through purchases and rewards. And so that's been a really good portfolio company for us as well. So it's a lot happening in the cryptocurrency world, and obviously I think it's all being led by Bitcoin.
And a lot of my talk was about increasing accessibility to Bitcoin and bringing it to people that need it the most. How do you think about that at Serena Ventures? I feel like outside of cryptocurrency, you do a lot of other things to expand accessibility.
Yeah, so for us it's super important to expand the accessibility. We want to have people of color, we want to have women, we want to have everyone involved in this, right? And so for us, when we look at it, we break it apart. And honestly, when you think about it, when this was all started too, kind of bring some balance into society, and that kind of didn't happen at all. It kind of went the other way. So I think a lot of people don't realize that women and people of color actually will probably invest sooner and more, and so that's important to know. And but it's just having that opportunity, right? So I think we're all here to kind of talk about how we can get that opportunity through Cash App, and it's such an easy way to invest, and it's like you don't really think about it. You just have an opportunity and you say, okay, listen, I'm gonna put $1 here. You can literally start with $1, right? So at Serena Ventures, it's really important for us. Diversity is super, super important for us to invest along those lines, and that's what we do. We've been doing it for a really long time, and now we are excited to do it even further in terms of when it comes with cryptocurrency and just in general in the whole Web3 space. It's a lot. It changes literally every day. We wake up and there's something new, but it's really just controlling that and just deciding to go forward. And
Yeah, focus is key.
yeah.
Odell, I wanna ask you about how have your friends and families and fans, teammates responded to you embracing Bitcoin?
I think the thing about it is it's almost become like cool, you know, and I feel like it's super relatable for all ages. You know, my family, they're asking questions on it. You know, I'm still learning each and every day, so I can't sit there and give them like all the advice. But like you hear it talked about in our locker room, and, you know, the chatter, crypto, and all those things. So it's just, I think it's something that's, like I said, it's gonna be around for a while. You just kind of got to get with it.
Was there anybody in the locker room at halftime of the Super Bowl checking the price of Bitcoin?
I don't know the answer to that, but I don't know. I hope not.
It's a 40-minute halftime.
That's a long halftime. Longest ever.
Well, Serena, what do you see as societal or cultural barriers to getting more people into this space? I know you just talked a bit about that, but anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I talked a bit about it, but also just talking about it, using your platforms to talk about it. Me in particular, using my platform to say, oh, this is what's happening, this is what we should invest in, this is some things that you should look at, because it's really just about, at the end of the day, it's really just about education, right? And just understanding who has an opportunity to invest in it. So I think that there's so much that we can continue to do and that needs to be done, and it's definitely gonna take years and years to continue just to have people have opportunities to invest. And you know, starting as little as $1 in Cash App is pretty cool and it's unique, but we're seeing more platforms being able to do that, and I think Cash was able to lead that. But it's just really also about knowing that there's a belief like, okay, wait, I can invest, I can have a Bitcoin, and like Aaron was saying, you know, sometimes right now I think it's like for one coin it's super expensive, over $40,000. So I think it's just about changing the education of like, okay, you don't have to actually buy a whole thing. You can just buy a little bit of it and keep adding and adding onto that and building it towards. And then also when you're doing that, you'll also learn about other investment opportunities. You'll learn about other things that you can do as well. So yeah,
cool. Odell and Aaron, as we mentioned, we both worked with you to get paid part of your NFL salary into Bitcoin this year. But it's somewhat of a hack. The teams in the NFL are still paying out in dollars, in fiat, and then it comes and it gets converted into Bitcoin. Do you think it's possible in the next year, 2 years, or some timeline to get a contract denominated natively in Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think so. The NFL is just always about a decade behind, well, in Green Bay at least, a decade behind. I love Green Bay, I'm going back there, come on. But I think the NFL is a dinosaur at times as far as their advancement in a number of different areas, but I think there's a real possibility. As Bitcoin has become more mainstream, there's no way of getting around it. Guys are taking salary in Bitcoin, guys are investing heavily in Bitcoin, and it's going to be there's going to be a push. It's just going to take one kind of game changer contract where a team with foresight and with creativity, working with a player who can be transcendent with the contract, being able to set the table for what a contract paid out in Bitcoin can look like. And that's what happens. It always has to be one trailblazer, one specific thing that happens that it's kind of the beginning, the kickoff point, the crescendo for all contracts to follow in kind.
So can I ask you a question? Did you already sign your deal with Green Bay for next year?
I did, yeah. I'll have it though. It's got to be one of these young guys. It's got to be the Joe Burrow signs the contract, and somebody get to him about how important Bitcoin is. Maybe he can, set the template for how the rest of the guys can do it. Because guys talk about it all the time. Guys are really interested in it. It's all over the locker room, and I think it's going to be something you're going to see mainstream probably in the next half decade.
Right on. Well, so does anybody know Burrow out there? We gotta get in touch with him. Do you have any predictions, OBJ, on who it to be?
No, I mean, I feel like he pretty much said it all. But it's just something that you have to get with it, or you're just going to get left behind. That's how I feel. I encourage my friends to get with it. Just keep learning about it. That's the best thing. I feel like this is the first year, 2 years in my life where like I really look at what do I care for and what do I want to get into and how can I, continue to expand my mind with some of these things. So just get with it or you'll get left behind. So
cool. Aaron, I heard you earlier in the chat. You were talking about the Fed printing money and macroeconomics. How big a role did that play in kind of like your aha moment with Bitcoin? Did you study economics at Berkeley? I know you said you kind of went to college. How did you? Can you talk to me about this rabbit hole that you went down? You clearly know a lot.
I studied economics at junior college, actually.
Okay.
Any JUCO people out there know how difficult that class was. No, I love my JUCO experience, but I've always been interested in the economy and progress of creativity and technology, and also the hindrances to those advancements. And I think the only thing that can get in the way of the crypto revolution is the government. And I think that will be interesting to see how that plays out in the next 5 to 10 years as they try and find a way to wrap their head around the decentralized nature of Bitcoin and the blockchain. And I'm excited to see how it all plays out, but I'm betting big on crypto continuing on in the fashion that it's been. And I think the most important thing for Bitcoin that's going to help as it becomes even more mainstream is what you guys do on Cash App. And I'm not just blowing you up, as half the crowd possibly is either on their phone swiping or doing Tinder or whatever right now. The simplicity and the ease at which you can get involved in investing is very important. And the more that Bitcoin becomes stable in the mainstream, even more than it already is, the harder it's going to be to attack the decentralized nature of it and the ability for it not to be regulated, which the government would love to do, I'm sure. So I'm excited about the future of Bitcoin. I'm excited about continuing to get guys more involved in the locker room to think about what they're doing with their investments and their assets, especially disposable assets. But I went down the rabbit hole years and years ago, and once you kind of see the other side, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
I guess this question for anybody, but what do you think this audience of early adopters, founders of this conference, like, what do we need to do to ensure Bitcoin is a success? We need more education, more access, more awesome parties and events like this. Like, how do we keep the momentum going?
Parties.
Not so much that, right? No, I think education is the main thing to keep it going. Talking about it, education, and it's so important that it's built and it continues to be built for everyone. you can see that governments are using cryptocurrency or can use cryptocurrency, as their main form of money in the future. And so it's really important for it to be built for everyone. And yeah, it's so much, like Aaron said, once you go down the rabbit hole, there's really no turning back because there's so much that you can continue to learn about it. So it's really key to have that education available as well for everyone, and let everyone know that it's not meant for just experts or just one group of people. It actually can be meant for literally everyone, and just how do you get involved. And so once we can break that down and let everyone know that there is an opportunity for that, yeah, it could be so much that can be done.
Excellent. I totally agree with you, and we're seeing in China and introducing a central bank digital currency and discussions of a number of other countries exploring that possibility. But to me, it's really the antithesis of Bitcoin, which is permissionless by default. It's open to everybody. It definitionally cannot discriminate against anyone, which to me is so important.
Well, that was the whole point of cryptocurrency, so it wouldn't be discriminated against anyone. So.
Uncensorable digital sound card money. It's gonna continue to change the world, and I think you three are playing a huge role in helping to spread the word, get it to more people, increase accessibility, and so I'm just so thrilled to have you three up here. I so appreciate all the work you've done and will continue to do. But I think that's all the questions I have, and yeah, honored to be up here with you.
Thank you.
Anyone here getting paid in Bitcoin? Yeah, I hope so. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes with the next panel. Hold tight.